galaxy.
Did we ever get to answer your question?
No.
What's your question? What's your question?
So my question for Stan is there a director alive today that you would like to see take on one of your Marvel creations that hasn't done so? And if so, what is that person's name and which Marvel creation? Thank you.
That's like 2 questions, dude.
Okay, so he wants to know, is there a director you on one of your characters? Is there a director you go, oh, they haven't yet signed on?
Well, Fellini would have been great, but he's dead now. You know, we've been lucky. We've had the greatest directors. Some of them, when they came on, I didn't even know who they were. I didn't know their names, but they did such a great job. Marvel has been lucky as hell, because apparently most of the directors love our characters, and they want to do those movies. And as you can imagine, the more successful the movies get, the more the directors want to do them. So they have no problem getting directors. Why they haven't asked me to direct one, I'll never know. But that's another subject.
James Gunn's a good director.
We just don't talk in the mic. Here's what it sounds like to me. We talk to the mic. Now he repeated what I just said. Okay, James.
Yeah.
Go.
For all you parents that have 2 children, they're doing their baby talk right now.
Boy, I don't have too many friends.
Where's the next question coming from? Over here? Yes.
I actually have 2 small ones, but the main one is, how did you come up with the Marvel dynamic?
The Marvel dynamic. What's the Marvel dynamic, baby?
Thank you.
The way you over-exaggerate all of your characters' motions, and,
What do you mean by that?
like, when they can't just pound on the desk, they have to, like, put their hand all the way up and then slam it down. Exactly, like that.
Like that.
Never mind. What did she say? What was that?
Instead of just going like this on the desk, they go.
That's my fault. I used to tell the artists, even Jack Kirby, who is the greatest of them all, one day he drew a picture of, in the beginning, of the, who's the villain? Dr. Doom. He drew a picture of Dr. Doom sitting in a chair which was like a throne, and he drew him like this. And I said, Jack, Dr. Doom wouldn't sit that way. He'd sit like this. That was about the only time I had ever corrected Jack Kirby in my life, because he was the best. But we did, with all the artists, with all the writers, I would say, if a guy does anything, let him do it in a dramatic, the most dramatic way. If he's angry, I don't want him just to be angry. I want him to be furious. And if he's in love, he's not just in love. He's captured by romance. In fact, wait a minute, I want to tell you something about McFarlane. I don't remember where it was, Todd, but you and I were on a platform somewhere, and I was mentioning you. He did a shot, or you were giving an example, I think. And it was something we both agreed on. If you draw Thor with a cape floating in, there was something we said, if you draw Thor with a hammer, he wouldn't be like this. He'd be like this. You understand, Todd understands that so perfectly. It's one of the few things he does understand. Whatever emotion you have, whatever action you have, you carry it to the extreme.
So
we used to, I'm still talking. And it was brilliant too. It doesn't matter. You go ahead, waste a little time.
I will repeat what he's saying that he thinks you heard me say, although he has bad hearing. What the theory was is comic books, for any of you guys out there or gals that want to draw, it's all melodrama, it's all Broadway. It's all Broadway, right? If you're on the stage, you don't act on Broadway so that you can sell whatever you're doing to the first 5 row.
You overact for the last row.
Yes, it's for grandma that's got bad eyes. So what he's saying is if you get hit, you have to overact it. So the theory I said with Thor was that I could take Thor in the most mundane situation and make him look cool, and the way that it worked was...
Mundane means a very simple, dull situation. For any DC readers out there.
And it went like this. Thor would be standing there, his legs would be apart, you go to 3/4, he's got the big cape, the cape is billowing in the back. Why? Because the wind's blowing. He's got his helmet on with the wings are twisted because again, the wind's going. He's got that cool hair that's going back, kind of Fabio-esque, and it's cutting across his face, and he's holding that hammer down here in a clutch. See all the veins in his arm? Lightning bolts are coming off the thing, off the hammer, and the dust is kicking up from all that energy. And the balloon says, pass the salt. But darn it, that's the best pass the salt panel you're ever going to see. It's really what comic books are about, just overselling. So,
On the platform with someone, that someone is not supposed to be cleverer or more interesting than I am. I want you to forget everything you heard for the past 2 or 3 minutes. Jesus, McFarlane.
all right, we got another question.
So I got Mr. McFarlane. How do you suppose that relates to comic book characters coming to life on film?
You've been sitting there for 5 minutes, that's all you can come up with? Go on, answer it.
But you know, we can't do that on film.
No, you can't do it. But if
It's a bit different.
if I was directing, here's what I would say. I would go look at the one thing that we can get away with artistically is we can do silhouettes, and our silhouettes can be different. You know who the king is, right? Superman's a king, right?
I hope you're following every word of this.
The Hulk is a brute, right? And Spider-Man's sort of this little pedestrian guy that sort of does the cool stuff. So for you, if you were going to be, let's say, Venom, then the moments that you show me anger and rage, then I need Venom. I co-created him. He's cool. So if you're going to be Venom, then at the moment that you get angry, then sell the anger, right? Because what I don't want you to do is come in and go, I'm going to be giving my lines here, and now when you get angry, I want you to make my kids jump out of their seat and scare the crap out of them when you're delivering those lines at the key moments, not all the time. I don't want you to scare this little kid right here all the time. I want you at that moment to just go, what's your name? Brienne. I want you to get into Brienne. I want you to be a good Venom. I want you to be there, and then I want you to go, boom, and I want you to jump. I want you to, now that, you just made her jump. I need you to give me a couple of those during the movie, and I'll go.
Those are really cheap jump
I
scares.
have no idea what the man is talking about.
Okay.
Hey, what's your question, baby?
If I was a superhero character, would you make me a superhero or a villain?
If she was a superhero, which would you choose? Would you make her a villain or a superhero?
Well, I would have to get to know her a lot better. But I think we'll all agree that the supervillain is the most interesting one. So I'm an interesting person, and you must be to have asked a fascinating question like that. I think I would make you a supervillain. And I want anybody sitting near her to change his seat, move a little further away. We don't know how dangerous she may be. Let me tell you something about Dr. Doom, speaking of that. You know, Dr. Doom is supposed to be a supervillain, but I want you to think about it. All he wants to do is rule the world. Now, that's not a crime. You can walk up to a policeman and you can say, "Officer, I want to rule the world." He can't arrest you. Anybody can want to rule the world. So Dr. Doom, to me, is not a villain. And you stop calling him one, McFarlane. You hear that?
Dude, I didn't create him, you did. You forgot that part. That's on you, bud. That's on you.
together on 2 movies now.
You and I.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Galaxy.
Well, maybe. I don't know. Do you have a thing in Guardians of the Galaxy?
A cameo.
You do?
A small supporting role.
Actually, I know. I wasn't sure if we were supposed to say that or not. Is it true, though?
Yes, but you didn't know about my cameo?
No, I've seen it.
Well, where did you see it?
I
Magnificent.
I saw it on screen. You were
But what
totally
made you
famous.
suddenly decide he's leaving? Why did you suddenly decide that?
Oh, I just saw something
It
to
was
say.
because you were talking so much.
Yeah, you know how he is.
I'll see you later backstage. We'll talk about it.
Later, alligator. Bye, guys.
Where's our next question coming from? Right here, right here. Yes. Oh, look at that. Are you Venom or are you Black Costume Spidey?
Venom.
Yeah. What's your question, young man?
What inspired you to making all these comic book characters?
Oh, it's a simple answer. Greed. I had a job, and I wanted to keep working so I could pay the rent. And my publisher kept saying, hey, that one is selling well, now dream up another. And if I hadn't dreamed up another, he might have hired somebody else to dream up the other, so it was my job. I was the editor and the writer at the Marvel things in the beginning, and I just kept doing it. I never thought that someday I'd be addressing an audience like this, or that Marvel would become so big. It was a job. I didn't want to get fired, and that's all it was. And it turned out to be something very nice. And I thank you all for that, because if you hadn't bought the books, I wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be working somewhere. So thank you.
Back over here.
I just wanted to ask Stan if you've ever had a story that you would love to tell, but didn't think that it would work out quite well.
If I had a story I'd love to tell, I didn't hear the rest. Never. Everything I wrote, I loved. No, seriously, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't write it. Everything that I wrote was something that I wanted to say, and if I couldn't think of anything to say, I didn't write it. So maybe I'm the only author like that, but I loved everything I wrote. I am my biggest fan. That's what
Where are we at? Over here now or no? Yeah, back over here. Oh, back over here. Okay. Oh, Wolfie, what do you got? Look at
It gives him a feeling of power to be the one to point
Yeah,
to.
Phil Donahue. Yes, sir. What would you like?
Who's your super favorite Marvel
Character? Okay. Let's go ask the man. Stan the man. Right? I'm God the God. You remember that? Just repeat yourself to him. It's true. He wants to know, of all the characters you've heard, who do you have a favorite? Is there a favorite genre?
You said he was cute. I hope he's like under 7 years old. And my favorite. I guess if I have to have a favorite, and I really don't, because they're all like my children, but if I had to have a favorite, it would have to be Spider-Man. I mean, somehow or another, he has become like Mickey Mouse. He's all over the world. He's big in China. He's big in Europe. He's big all over. Everybody recognizes him. So I'd have to be kind of fond of him, I guess.
Is there any character traits? Why him?
Why him? I just told you why him. Well, he's big in a lot of other countries. Don't tell me he's become like Mickey Mouse all over the world. People know him and love him. So how can I not love him? And besides, he's more like me than anybody.
All right, we got. They're telling me we got 3 more questions, and then.
How do you know there's only 3 more? What? Something from up there came down and whispered that to you?
No, because when you're engaging these good people.
I didn't engage you. I don't know what the hell you even got up here.
throughout your life.
People what?
So of the characters you created, take any trait that people.
Oh, I'm sure. I don't think any writer writes any character without subconsciously thinking of people or movie stars or somebody who has those characteristics. But I don't do, there was only one character I wrote where I was really thinking of a person when I wrote him, and that was Tony Stark, whom you may know as Iron Man. I was thinking of, oh God, I have no memory. Who's the guy who made the plane that never flew? Howard Hughes. I was thinking of Howard Hughes. He was an adventurer, an inventor, a millionaire. In those days, being a millionaire was like being a billionaire today. And he was a genius, but he was also a little bit nuts. Well, we haven't made Iron Man nuts yet, but I thought it would be fun to take a character like Howard Hughes, who the readers shouldn't have liked, because he made armaments and he was part of the military-industrial complex. And in those days, the teenagers hated those kind of people. And I thought it would be a challenge, a fun challenge, to take a character like that and see if I could make him popular. So that's the one character that I wrote that I really was thinking of a person. Everybody else, just fiction.
Thank you. What about the next person over here on this side? Two more.
Okay, so like my question is what's the day in the life of Stan Lee? You know, like how does it feel? Like you can't go to the grocery store without people like, you know, like.
A day in the life? What is that?
Yeah.
Well, I will admit, people now do recognize me. When I go to the airport and they're searching, you know, you gotta put your arms out and they pat you down. I hope you don't mind, Mr. Lee, they say. So, and people stop me in this. It's funny. People used to stop you in the street if you were famous and ask for an autograph. Now they ask for an autograph and they say, can I take a picture of you? Because everybody has a little phone with a camera in it. So a lot of people do that in the street, and I got to admit, I love it. I don't get offended, I don't get angry. In fact, sometimes I pass somebody who doesn't say, hey, aren't you Stan Lee? I get a little offended. I want to if you recognize me, where do you get it?
All right, last question here. Yes, sir.
What was your inspiration or like creation idea for Spider-Man? Because that was my childhood hero, and I thank you for that, Stan Lee.
Oh boy, it's a long story. How much time do we have?
Yeah, this is a good one, but we got all day. You're so
All right. Well, it's not that good, because I talk a lot. I had just done whatever heroes I had done, maybe the X-Men and Fantastic Four, I forget which, and my publisher, who was a strange guy, but I won't discuss that now, but he said to me, hey Stan, I think we're on a roll. We have a couple of good-selling heroes. Come up with another one for me. So I wanted to keep my job, so I went home and started thinking, and I saw a fly crawling on the wall. And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool to have a hero who could stick to the wall? No, I'm not telling the truth. In those days, they probably didn't have the word cool. I probably said, wouldn't it be groovy to have a character crawl on the wall? So I thought, sort of like an insect. And then I thought, okay, now I need a name. To me, names are very important. Like the Hulk. I mean, you had to love a guy called the Hulk. Anyway, I thought, what do I call the guy? Insect Man? Nah, it didn't sound dramatic. Mosquito Man? Nah. And I went down the list and I got to Spider-Man. Spider-Man. I said, wow, I've got my name. Then I decided to make him different. I'd make him a teenager. And finally, I thought to make the readers empathize with him, I'd give him a lot of personal problems. He'd be poor, he'd live with an aunt who's always sick, and stuff like that. So I went to my publisher the next day, and I was so excited. I told him my idea, and he said, Stan, that is the worst idea I've ever heard. said, first of all, people hate spiders, so you can't call a hero Spider-Man. You want him to be a teenage hero? Don't you understand teenagers can only be sidekicks? And then he said, and you want him to have personal problems? Don't you know anything about superheroes? They don't have personal problems. They're superheroes. So I walked out of the office with my tail between my legs, but I couldn't get the idea out of my mind. So we were going to kill a magazine. I think it was called Amazing Fantasy. Now, when you kill a magazine, nobody cares what you put in the last issue, because you're killing it. So I thought I'd get Spider-Man out of my system. I'd put him in that magazine. And Steve Ditko drew him. I gave it to Jack Kirby first, but he made him look too heroic. I said, I wanted to be just an ordinary, klutzy kind of teenager. Gave it to Steve Ditko, who drew klutzy characters. And we featured him on the cover, and I forgot about it. About a month later, after the sales figures came in, my publisher came running into my office, and he said, hey, Stan, do you remember that Spider-Man character of yours that we both liked so much? I swear. He said, let's make a series of it. And that's how Spider-Man was born.
Just so you guys know, Stan Lee is the only person in the comic book community that has his own star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He's the only one who has
only one lousy star.
Yeah, but here's why that's a big deal. Because all this stuff that I grew up with, that people kept saying, you're a geek, you're a nerd, you have to hide it away from people, we're going mainstream, right? We've now taken over, the meek have now inherited the earth. I say,